I really don't even know.
It's money that kids get from the government to go to school.
From my understanding, a school voucher is when kids are poor and they can't go to private schools, and so they get money to be able to go to those private schools.
School voucher is when the government pays money for someone to go to a school other than the public school that they're zoned for. For example, like someone going to a private school.
It is when the government pays for individuals to go to a school other than public school.
Where they give you money to go to private school instead of public
School voucher.
When the government pays high school kids to go to private school instead of public school.
A school voucher is a kind of type of monetary compensation in order to incentivize kids to go to a private school instead of a public school.
A school voucher is basically like a scholarship to a private school instead of a public school for high school students.
School voucher is when the government provides money for a kid to go to school other than a public school if they can't afford to do that.
Is where the government takes taxpayers' money and uses it to give people money like to go towards paying for a private school tuition.
A school voucher is when a school district or school could give money to certain individuals so they could come to a private school rather than a public.
I think, I don't know that for sure, that gives families a choice of where to send their child. If they have a voucher, then they can go to any school they want to.
The school voucher is something that gives students and families another option besides the school that they are zoned for, so that they can attend other schools.
The pro of a school voucher would be that a kid that wouldn't get the opportunity to go to a school that may be better suited for them could go to that school.
Pros is that helps kids out at school.
A pro would be that they get the opportunity to have a higher education if people see that private school is, or they're safer at a private school, and a better school.
Also gives a opportunity for someone who may thrive in a private school environment, someone who may not be able to afford it otherwise, and allow them to be very successful later on in life.
It could take people who don't have opportunities in their like living situations or where they're from, and it can give them a better chance to get better education and then have a better future.
Pro of a school voucher would be that people who normally wouldn't be able to go to private school, they're now able to.
That gives an opportunity for better education.
The pros are that it incentivizes kids to go to private schools instead of public schools.
I think a big pro is that you're getting the education of a private school, which is usually like smaller, more personal, and it's just all the benefits of a private school, but with basically a scholarship.
Can help underprivileged kids get a better education.
Kids who have disabilities like such as ADHD, dyslexia, for those type of people to go to a school that can specialize in that.
It would be that they could come to a private school rather than a public school and get maybe get a better education depending on their.
I mean, a pro could definitely be if somebody's zoned in a bad area, it would give them a choice of not having to go to that school specifically.
A pro of a school voucher is that students who are zoned into either failing schools or schools that don't have maybe as many options or funding, they can go to a better school.
The cons may be that like maybe that kid would be less accepted by their peers, or maybe they just wouldn't feel like they fit in with that kind of crowd, so there could be like some conflict there.
Is less money for the government.
A con would be that they're getting money for private school when in reality public schools really do have strong teachers as well.
A con is that it may give someone a little bit of a disadvantage, or a little bit of an unfair advantage to those who choose not to use it.
A con would be that
it's taking spots away from individuals who can afford to have those opportunities and who are willing to pay for those opportunities.
I feel like people who can't like keep up the grades to get it.
It's like maybe placed into those schools that they're like unfamiliar with or uncomfortable with. Could be weird for them.
Well, it's quite the opposite. It's the fact that it incentivizes them not to use the public school system, which is something that's already suffering here in America.
I think a con of a voucher would be just that they could be used in the wrong way or
It like detracts from the public schools. Like that money could go to improving public school systems.
Vouchers, it's basically innately saying that, one, that public schools aren't as good at privates as private.
That it's taking away money from public schools and funding.
What happens to the bad schools? I mean, it should be something that would make them be better. But at some point, you've got everybody trying to get in the same school, essentially, which is not going to work either.
The con of school vouchers is then maybe those Title I schools or schools that have less funding or who are failing will essentially be abandoned and not have enough students and enough taxpayer money going toward them to help them improve.
Not have any experience with vouchers, public school.
Never had any experience with school.
I do not.
Yes, I went to a private
I
school.
went to public school.
No, I do not.
No.
I do not. I went to public school.
no, I do not.
No, I went to public school.
No.
Yeah, I know a lot of people that benefited from school vouchers. I went to private school.
No, I don't think so. No.
I found the most appalling thing is the lack of awareness in the Clemson community. Even some of my closest friends didn't even know what school vouchers meant, which is really upsetting because that's our platform for our superintendent of education, which means that they didn't even care about appointed officers. And with that being said, they weren't able to form their own opinions because they hadn't researched enough. I hope that Clemson uses its resources to further awareness on this campus, allow students to make their own political beliefs. I also hope that they realize that these decisions being made now affects the future, affects their children, their grandchildren, affects even them, because in the end we are students ourselves. And education is a very, very big deal on that. We want to further education, we want to further our knowledge, because that's like what makes our generations better and allows us to overcome obstacles and completely change the world, which is something that I know my generation aims to do. So I really hope that from these videos we got to raise awareness to what is going on in education and politics.
I think that some of the main things that I learned from filming this project is that a lot of people in the surrounding community are not well educated on what school vouchers are or the benefits that can come from them or even the drawbacks that come from school vouchers. And a lot of people don't really have enough information to kind of form their own opinions on school vouchers. And so that's like a main thing that I learned. And I was even surprised to see how many people hadn't even had experience with school vouchers because of going to public schools or even if they went to private schools, just not really realizing that school vouchers were a big component of their education. And also seeing that some of the professionals that I interviewed didn't really keep up with or know a whole lot about school vouchers, even though they are in the education department.